Hello everyone, Loremaster of Sotek here with a video covering today's Total War news. Apologies if I maybe sound a little weird or something. I am fortunately having to deal with some medical stuff and I'm not really feeling the best, but I am not going to let that get in the way of talking about all the cool things that are coming out because I am super excited about all the information we've been getting for Total War Warhammer 3, and it doesn't seem like it's going to be slowing down anytime soon, so I'm going to do my best to keep up with it no matter what. So for today, we're going to be covering the Kislev Campaign Mechanics, which is really exciting. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into it. So for today's article, it's Let Your Foes Feel the Fury of Winter with Kislev's Campaign Mechanics. Welcome back to our series of articles on faction mechanics in Total War Warhammer 3. Today we're heading north to the icy lands of Kislev, the ward of the world against the machinations of chaos and humanity's finest line of defense against the threat of corruption. A fierce belief in their land, its people, and the power of their gods to stand against chaos seeping from the north, whispering dark secrets and desires, crushing and infecting all those it encounters, which, that's nice. Secrets, so Tzeentch, desires, Slaanesh, crushing Khorne, and infecting Nurgle keeps the nation alive. They have endured much, but they will continue until their mastery of the North is complete and chaos is driven from the wastes once and for all. So it really seems like Kislev is maybe going on the rampage, or Kislev might be trying to push north themselves, which does make sense. I kind of talked about this in my lore video on the Ancient Widow, but Kislev actually used to expand very, very far north. We've actually seen Games Workshop kind of touching on this with the new maps for Kislev for Warhammer the Old World, where back then long ago, Kislev was able to stretch all the way up to the eastern steppes, but has slowly but surely lost a lot of that land to the forces of chaos, and then of course dealing with the Zornu's Cool has always probably been competed for territory thanks to the Chaos Dwarves in their the first ever hold that's up there on Zornu's Cool. But let's hop into their mechanics. So first is devotion. If it hasn't been clear, Kislevites are a fairly religious sort. When you're freezing to death on your 50th day since you last saw your family, digging at the ice to get ever closer to literal demons, and making sure they aren't coming for your home, your people, and everything you hold dear, well, it helps to have something to believe in. In game, devotion is a representation of how well your faction is upholding the ideals of Kislev, and how easily it can keep the passion of the common people focused on destroying chaos. It is gained primarily through exactly that, combating and destroying the armies of chaos. Defeating chaos-aligned armies provides some, while sacrificing the captives post-battle gives another chunk. Various buildings and decisions can also generate devotion, the gods of Kislev responding to the attentions of their people. Should it dip too low, chaos armies may attack your homeland, finding it all the easier to manifest and invade a people who no longer believe they can be stopped. Devotion will drop when you commit heretical actions, like declaring war on other Kislev factions. It can also be spent on buildings and technology that are closely aligned to faith. These can be great places of worship, for example, or improvements to the invocations the people of Kislev use to worship their gods. Speaking of which, so based on this bit alone, I kind of feel like Kislev. I know a lot of people have felt, oh, Kislev is like the empire of Warhammer 3, but I'm actually starting to disagree a little bit. I think as far as like sure playability wise, like the way their armies are designed, but I think from a campaign perspective, to me it almost sounds like Kislev is more of a Bretonnian equivalent, where they are much bigger on having to focus on faith as their primary weapon against their enemies, and this kind of system that you have to avoid committing heretical actions, can't declare war on fellow factions and stuff like that. Kind of like how Bretonia has to maintain the chivalry system, and that you should be taking actions that are chivalric in order to, uh, you know, complete the campaign and get all the various buffs and stuff. It sounds like Kislev's going to kind of have that. It sounds like devotion and chivalry are not are companion systems. The one thing I actually really like is that there's actually it sounds like there's a downside to if your devotion gets low. If your devotion drops too low, you're gonna have to worry about like chaos groups literally manifesting in your area and probably cults popping up and stuff like that. which is pretty exciting. Next is the Motherland, and here we get this looks like the campaign map. So this is like it looks like just a screenshot of a campaign. Maybe it's a in battle, but I don't know. Based on the way it looks, this kind of reminds me more of like a super zoomed in campaign map picture, but it's a beautiful picture. Kislev looks very pretty. So this is the Motherland. The primary use of devotion is to perform one of 4 rituals to the Motherland. These represent honoring one of the 4 main gods of the Kislevite faith. They, their areas of worship, and the effects of their ritual are: you have Solyak, god of healing and comfort, a teacher of common sense, but cannot bring back the dead. Increases growth and replenishment rate faction-wide. Daz, god of fire and the sun, legendary for giving knowledge of fire to ancient human war chiefs. Increases income from trade in all buildings. Also, fun fact, if you go back and watch the Total War Warhammer 3 announcement trailer, the CG one where Katerin fights the Bloodthirster, that song that's being sung in the beginning is actually a prayer to, or an ode, or I don't know what their exact word is, but it's a holy hymn to Daz, the god of the fire and the sun. Urson, god of bears and seen as the shepherd and protector of Kislev. When activated, causes attrition to all enemies in your lands and provides a unique army ability that puts a powerful hex on a target area. That's cool. Tor, the god of thunder and lightning, and a mighty warrior who cracks the sky. Gives all armies additional melee attack and bestows a unique army ability to massively increase damage potential in an area for a time. Very, very cool. So you got debuff enemies, buff yourselves, increase income and trade, or just income from everything, and then increase growth and replenishment. Each ritual to the Motherland also causes a great winter to whip across Kislev lands, spread snow across any battles in their lands, and dissuading attacks from enemies. Should your devotion be enough, you could switch between or continue the effects at will. These great storms and rituals also serve to incite the populace to support your faction, which brings us to... So the only thing I'm a little worried about is that I still haven't seen any mentions of the Ancient Widow, which, granted, the Ancient Widow is a very big secret in a lot of ways within Kislev. Like, the only people that really know about the Ancient Widow are the Ice Witches, the Hags or the Babas, and many of the ancient peoples. But it was the Ancient Widow who drew the Gospodars to Kislev in the first place to conquer the Ungol's, and then they kind of intermixed. I am worried that she's been retconned out of the setting, but it could be that, I mean, because this kind of seems to insinuate that she's involved, where, because you have all 4 of the gods are doing their own thing, but while you're giving devotion to the Motherland, which Kislev is the Ancient Widow, for anyone that's confused, like the Ancient Widow's actual name is Kislev. Her name is Kislev, and she is the land. She is the Motherland, which is why the Ice Witches are so keen to protect it. Like, the Ice Witches traditionally don't really give a damn about the Kislevite gods. They kind of use the Kislevite gods as a means to an end, but they stand kind of opposed to the religions of Kislev because they don't want any of the religions to become the central power, because that would introduce problems for them. So they have always tried to kind of keep a lot of the faiths at a kind of at a bit of a hand's reach, but they understand that they are a critical component for helping defend Kislev. But the mention of all these big storms, where whenever you enact a ritual, it causes a great winter storm to like crash across the lands, to me seems to insinuate that's the Ancient Widow's doing. But I'm curious if she's just been retconned out of the game, or out of the lore, or has died or something. But we'll have to see. Supporters and the spiritual conflict for Kislev. So here we've got really, really cool looking menu. So invoke one of the gods and bestow their blessing. And we got all 4 of the gods here. And yep, so you support generators. Wait, supporters generated. Generate 1 supporter when gaining a character rank. Growth, casualty replenishment, lasts for 10 turns. Supporters. Spiritual conflict from the Motherland, the devotion of the people is fought over by the Ice Court and the Great Orthodoxy. So that kind of makes sense. If the Ancient Widow is still a thing, that would be why the Ice Court is fighting against the Great Orthodoxy, because the Ancient Widow would not be interested in that. But go on. Kislev is a nation divided. While it remains resolute against the coming of chaos, the death of the Red Tsar, he's not dead, he's just missing, as far as I'm concerned. Boris lives! Boris lives! I may be sick, but I have not lost faith in Boris. The death of the Red Tsar and the rise of his daughter Katerin to the throne has thrown the political landscape into disarray. There are two major factions, Tsarina Katerin and the Ice Court, standing opposed to Supreme Patriarch Kostaltin and the Great Orthodoxy. The two dare not declare open war against one another. No matter their hatred for the other's position, it would simply be too costly for the nation, and civil war is already a reality on both of their borders. Civil war is already a reality on both of their borders. What does that mean? I'm wondering if they're saying that who do they border? They border the Empire, which, okay, the Empire is pretty much always at civil war. I don't know who the other border is they're referring to. Maybe Norska? But that doesn't make sense. Yeah, I'm not really sure what that's referring to. However, they are gathering followers in the hope of proving that their faction is the greater and should be the one to lead Kislev as one nation into the future and against the forces of chaos. Gathering followers comes from any number of sources, further enhanced by which rituals you decide to undertake and passive gains from certain buildings. As a faction gains more followers, they will increase their relationship with the minor factions of Kislev, as well as proving to the people and the troops that they are the rightful leader. Should the vast majority of Kislevites choose one side or the other, it will become one side over the other, it will become dominant, confederate their opponents, and reign supreme. Of course, both factions are more than willing to spend gold or devotion to smear their opponent. So that's cool. We see that Kislev has a built-in confederation mechanic, which seems to be that I'm guessing it's a race to the end here. Whoever gets to the end of the meter first gains the ability to confederate the other one. To kind of be like, we won, we're in charge now, you belong to us. But it sounds like you're going to have the ability to mess with each other to try and bring down their supporters or hurt them in some way to prevent them from overtaking you. This is the spiritual conflict for the Motherland and its people. Whoever wins will still have chaos, the Empire and their vampire spawn, ogres, and much more to deal with. Yeah, because you got ogres to the east, you got vampires to the south, the Empire, you got Norskins coming from the west, you got chaos coming from the north. It's a busy place. Atamans and the great cities of Kislev. Here we got one of these damn ice witches riding a bear. I know I am never going to do this in my campaign. I don't care what happens. I am not putting an ice witch on a bear. Not doing it. They are purely riding on horses, and hopefully will unlock another mount at some point. Kislev has a strict hierarchy of order within its society. The Atamans are what sit between the Tsarina and her people. They are the rulers of cities and regions, conducting the everyday business that keeps the nation ticking over and ensures chaos cannot get a foothold. In game, they are special lords, recruited to serve a province and can affect the income, growth, control, and corruption of the area. They also have various special effects and can develop more as their career continues. They do not earn XP like traditional lords, but will face various dilemmas to increase their skills. However, in times of dire need, or well, whenever you like really, Atamans can be drafted as lords to lead armies. This has no initial cost as you already control the Ataman, though they lack the battle-specific random traits of normal lords, and they won't be providing their provincial benefits while they're in the field. If they die, they're gone forever, and a new one will be needed to recruited to run the province. You get one Ataman per 2 provinces you control. However, while for some races and areas of the world that would represent a half-dozen settlements or more, the layout of Kislev is somewhat unique. 3 great cities dominate much of the landscape: Kislev, Prague, and Arengrad. It has been many moons since the 3 were united under one banner, but together they represent the nation. The geography of the area also leads to some other massive single settlements, such as Skaven Hell Pit to the north. Between these great areas are scores of smaller towns and villages, scratching out a living and funding the war efforts with men, farms, and weapons. Which deserves the attention of your Atamans is up to you. So that's actually super clever. So they're saying the reason you only get one Ataman per 2 provinces is that the nation of Kislev is mostly broken up into single province or single settlement provinces, or provinces that have like 1 or 2 cities max. So it sounds like Kislev, Prague, and Arengrad are going to be upgraded to be big super cities, and they're going to be by themselves, so they don't have anything else in their province, or at best they're going to have one thing in their province. And then of course you've got Hell Pit, which is a single settlement province, and then the rest of Kislev is going to be, you know, scattered around. So the reason you only get 1 per 2 is because a lot of your provinces just require you to capture a single city or a single settlement. I gotta say, I'm really, really interested in the Ottomans. I'm really excited that we're getting new types of lords who kind of sound like they're almost heroes. So they are characters who serve a support role. They're not meant for you to recruit and send into battle. They are characters that you are meant to recruit, and they watch over your empire. You know, they're like they're magistrate type characters, which we've heard about with Cathay. Like with Cathay, you have a unique special lord that you send with your caravans, right? So you have a caravan lord, which is a new lord that Cathay has who only exists to run the caravans. Well, the Ottomans are going to be the same way. The Ottomans are meant for you to place in a province and to provide tons and tons of buffs to help make that province as profitable or important or whatever as possible. Like, you can throw them into battle, but it really sounds like you shouldn't be throwing them into battle, especially because the way they earn XP is through dilemmas and like dealing with the various issues of their office, not running out to fight. I'm gonna be curious if they make it where you just can't earn XP by going out to fight, because if they do, then you really won't want to use them unless you absolutely have to. All right, the Ice Court. So it says, before a Kislev spellcaster can be recruited, they must be first sent to the Ice Court for training. Here, each candidate will have the opportunity to acquire a number of character traits. Maiden of the Ice Court is the envoy of the Tsarina, sent across the realm to serve Katarin's interests. She's also expected to stand on the battlefield, bolstering the warriors of Kislev with their magic. Where should her focus or talents? Would you prefer her to focus on heroic actions, where she'll get the, so therefore she'll pick up the quiet warrior trait, or would you rather she pick up the battle tactic, which will give her the magical warrior trait? Ice Witches and Frost Maidens of Kislev are not simply born with their extraordinary powers and the wherewithal to use them. True, because it's not a natural wind of magic. They have to learn it because it's been passed down from the Ancient Widow, and they're using the power of the Ancient Widow. So it's not, you can't just learn ice magic. There's like a whole big thing to it. Dedicated training must be undertaken, and the costs and decisions related to that fall on your shoulders. Rather than simply hiring these lords and heroes, you must first pay for them to go through a training regimen. While this means hiring a new hero or lord takes many more turns, it also gives you the opportunity to mold them into what you currently need. Each turn in training will give you decisions on how you would like your new recruit to specialize. Which lore of magic should they take? Which abilities should they have? Which passive bonuses for troops under their command? Different technologies change the number of Ice Witches and Frost Maidens that can be trained at any one time, as well as the recruitment capacity for them. Once training is complete, they are added to your recruitment pool as normal at a discounted price, since you already paid for their training. They can then be recruited whenever you have the desire, money, and slots to do so. Ah, so look at that. So you, oh, look, that's so cool. So like so you can see they started retraining Mikhaila Novosi here, and she's got 6 turns of training to do, and they have the ability to customize her traits. And it looks like you open up more slots through the tech tree, because we see the little tech tree symbol there. Naturally, Kostaltin does not adore that if he is to wield the winds of magic in his armies, he must pay for the training of those he despises. It is up to him, and therefore you, how much you do that. But the uneasy peace between the Ice Court and the Orthodoxy gives him access to the same tools as anyone else. So, well, that's good. So Kostaltin will be able to use the Ice Court system, but I'm guessing Katarin will have significantly more bonuses to it. The tech tree. Oh, the Kislevite tech tree looks fun. So you got the land, Kislev. Finally, as we mentioned in our Cathay piece, we'll be detailing the tech trees of the individual factions, as each is subtly different and focused in a different direction. For Kislev, your technology is focused on 4 key areas: the land and the 3 great cities. Each contains 3 groups of technologies, each of which require a number from the group before to unlock. Within a group, several of the technologies may also be linked. To begin with, a few technologies in each set are available. Progressing along the land path simply needs a few from each box completed to unlock the next. However, the 3 tracks based around the great cities, Kislev, Prague, and Erengrad, require those cities to be in your faction. Oh, interesting. Each city focuses on a differing upgrades across a host of units, income types, and other benefits. as you can imagine, uniting all 3 cities under you gives a significant advantage in terms of what you can do and the power of your settlements and armies. It may provide some surprising results as well. Yo, that's super cool. So they have like a they don't there this is the first time we've seen, well, no, it's actually not the first time. So Norska uses this too. For Norska, certain techs are locked behind you owning specific cities, which is, the capital of the race you want to like unlock the racial, thing for. But for Kislev, so you've got the land buffs, which is just okay, recruit. Okay, so you start with these 4, and then once you've unlocked 2 of these, it unlocks the next tier. And once you've locked 3 of these, it unlocks the last tier. Which we've got what? Ice Rights, Beach Loaders, Dwarven Anvils, Devotional Creed, Troll Country Pathfinder, Ursinite Cult Customs, Tough Speed. Oh no, Toughened Sanctions, Gospodar Governance, Leather Treatment, Cold Storage, Hooked Axe Blades, and Ice Sculpting. If you own the city of Kislev, which this seems to be a Katerin starter, so if you own the city of Kislev, you get the Ice Court Indoctrination, Capital Bulwark Renovations, Festival of Urson. No, that looks like it says Urson. Ice Paid Collars, Ice something Collars, Iron River Stone. Wait, I think I actually have this in a more specific image that I'll pull up here in a second instead of trying to read it like this. I really like this. This is super cool. So the whole thing you're trying to do is basically take over. So for Kislev, what really matters for them is taking over the 3 major cities, the 3 big boy cities that exist within Kislev. I think that's a really, really, really cool way to have it kind of spiced up and different. So with Tzeentch, we saw it's all about you have to unlock specific techs, and you have to like follow these winding paths through the tech tree in order to get to everywhere you need to go, and also is highly dependent upon you building specific buildings. Whereas with Cathay, oh gosh, I can't even remember Cathay's tech tree off the top of my head. I'd have to go look it up again. But I really, really like this tech tree in that it's like not okay. So you have to capture the major city that it's associated with just to unlock their tech tree. And then once you have it, you have to get enough techs in order to open the bottom tree. But even for the bottom tree, you can see every single one of the bottom trees is actually locked behind a building requirement. So you have to build certain buildings within the city of Kislev in order to unlock their top tier techs. And this is the Kislev one. I'm guessing Irongrad's over here and Prague's over here. And then you can also see that there are certain techs that require devotion as well. So you have to build up enough devotion, spend it, just like Tzeentch has to with Grimoires. But gotta say, really, really liking the look of this. I think Kislev is going to be a really interesting campaign. Another thing that I'm actually really excited about is that this confirms that Kislev actually starts in Kislev. So the map, we know that the Total War Warhammer 3 map goes all the way west until it reaches actual Kislev. Because there was a little bit of curiosity and speculation about that. So, dude, this map's going to be huge. Just the fact that we're going from Kislev all the way over to Cathay, like, damn, son. I don't know if Eastern and Southern Cathay are going to be in the game. It feels like every time we talk about Eastern and Southern Cathay, it's almost more from like a lore and background standpoint, not from a gameplay standpoint, which may explain why Yin Yin and Li Dao might not be playable, at least at the start. But I mean, I hope all of Cathay is in. I'd love to see it, just because that also means we have a better chance of getting expansions. But I mean, damn, dude. And the fact that we know there's Realm of Chaos stuff because you go all the way to the Crystal Labyrinth for Tzeentch and the Bastion Citadel, or the Brass Citadel for Khorne. I mean, this map is gonna be huge. You got the Realm of Chaos, the Chaos Waste, the Eastern Steppes, the Darklands, the Mountains of Morn, Kislev, and Cathay. I mean, that is a staggering amount of territory. And I mean, even if they do, oh well, of course, in the World's Edge Mountains, can't forget the World's Edge Mountains, because you have to get from Kislev to the Darklands. But like, even from there, you could have you could have the Mountains of Heaven where the Monkey King is. You could have End, which is right on the other side of that. You have the jungles of Koresh immediately south of Cathay. You have Nippon off the eastern shore of Cathay. You've got like in the if we have the southern Darklands, or you have Noblar country and the that forest that's there that's like super swampy and nasty. Like there is so much potential for just craziness. Like I honestly wouldn't be surprised to see a good number of the Empire involved in this, like the factions represented on the map. Because if depending on how far south you go in the Darklands and Cathay, to if you had the border consistent along like how far south you're going, then you're going to have quite a bit of the Empire involved in what's going on, because Kislev only extends so far south. It is a fairly northern country. Cathay goes substantially further south on the map than Kislev does, unless the southern border cutoff for the map is unless it's like a diagonal or it's like weirdly drawn out. But yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see what happens. Okay, so real quick, I just wanted to pull this up because I realized I had a much higher quality image of this just to see what all we have written in here. So we already looked at these, but for Kislev, you got, yeah, Ice Kid Colors, Convalescence, Tsar Loyalty Right, the Gospodar Bloodline, improved Empire relations. Okay, so the Empire is absolutely going to be on the map, or at least to an extent. Oh, the Festival of Urza. I was going to say, it didn't look like it said Urson. Orthodoxy Interdiction, Bear Baiting, Aggressive Cultivation, Kislevian Ducat, which is their currency, Imperial Efficiency, Mesh Layers. It's interesting. It looks like they reuse a certain like on certain abilities. It looks like they reuse the art asset. I wonder if that's like to indicate what it does, or if maybe this is still just work in progress. Because like the Ice Bear image shows up on Ice Rights, Aggressive Cultivation, and whatever this thing is. So that's 3 texts that have the exact same image. And then you've got like Capital Barrack Renovations and whatever this thing has the exact same image. Really curious if that's intentional and it's like trying to convey that the tech does something specific, or if that's work in progress. But I gotta say, I'm pretty excited. I think for me personally, I'm still leaning towards Cathay as being the faction I'm the most excited about when I compare all of the ones we've gotten so far. But everything is looking very, very interesting and dynamic and unique, especially compared to the factions from the prior games. But they look very different compared to one another. I really, really like that they're all using different systems. I'm getting increasingly excited. Man, they are mentioning Gospodar all over the place. I don't see a single mention of Ungol's. So I'm having a growing suspicion that the Ungol's are going to be a major DLC for Kislev. So like the Kislev we have now, it seems to be almost primarily focused on the Gospodars, which makes sense. They're like the ruling class and the ruling elite of Kislev. But I really, really hope this means that they're holding their cards for the Ungol's and are gonna be like, bam, there's the like. I'm hoping the first Lord Pack, honestly, or the first DLC that adds characters or sub factions to groups we already have. So our first Chaos, I would love for Chaos Dwarfs to be the first DLC, but whenever the Chaos Dwarfs, either first or second, I hope the other DLC we get first is about the Ungol's, personally. Like, they're just such a major half of the faction. It's so weird to see them not mentioned at all. So hopefully they'll appear soon. Because it's just weird to me. It would be like having... It'd be like having Skaven with one or two of the great clans entirely absent. Like, when Skaven came out in Total Warhammer 2... one of the biggest things is that they were very, very lacking in the Clan Scryer department, and there was of course the giant Clan Scryer DLC. But this one is so much bigger because it's just half the faction. It'd be like having Lizardmen with no skinks, or Greenskins with no goblins. So really gonna be interested to see what happens going forward. But that's gonna be it for me today. Hopefully you all actually no, it's not. I got one more thing I want to look at. Okay, okay. I was like, what is the Cathay tech tree? I had to go back and look. Okay, cool. So yeah, now yes, I'm still kind of on Cathay because I really, really like the yin and yang system and how it like affects your harmony, and you have to balance your harmony between yin and yang. And despite having all these techs that are going to drag you away from the center, because you'll notice only the exact center techs do not lean yin or yang. Like, even if you're in this center tree right here, Blessed Temple Guardians, if you do Contained Aggression or Harmonic Balance, like, that'll push you one way or the other. So I'm really, really excited to... I'm thinking I'm going to play Cathay first. But who knows? Maybe when they reveal Nurgle, that old pustule will call me back. But we'll have to see. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Stay safe out there. Hope you're all having a good time and enjoying all the releases. I'm sure they'll be dropping more stuff on Tuesday or Thursday or Friday. Who knows? They're releasing stuff, it feels like, every day. So I'll see you then. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.